Welcome back everyone for Retro Scams, where we are going to go over the final Pokemon game for Game Boy Color, Pokemon Silver. Some of you can probably already tell just from this picture which one the fake one is, but let's pop these cases open and take a look at them. So there's a little bit of cheating here because the label on the real one is in kind of rough shape, which is pretty common for a lot of these older Game Boy games. So if you haven't seen any previous videos on this, I try to not only depend on the label to know if it's real or not, because even I have a few games where labels have been replaced on them. But one thing you can always tell for one of these games on the Game Boy that actually has its original label and original shell, you will see a number near the Nintendo seal of quality, which on this one is a 34. I don't know if they're all going to be 34, but this one at least has that. And then these fake ones never have that little stamp on there. And then as far as the labels, the fake ones, usually the seal of quality is really dark on them. It's just, like, it definitely doesn't look right. Plus, as you can see on these labels, there's more of a blue tint to the fake one, and Pokemon on the top is kind of blurry. It's not really as clear as what it is on the real one. So when you're out in the wild, purchasing this game from someone, one thing to definitely do is pull up a place like Price Charting and look at the images they have there just to compare the label and make sure that it looks right. But the most important part to look at on the label is that little number that will be above the seal. So then moving on to the shells on these, it's probably pretty easy to see that this one is a lighter color than this one. Pokemon Gold and Silver both have like little sparkly glitter to the shells. But the fake ones, they just put in a standard gray Game Boy shell. Then when you flip them over to their backs, you can see there's a garbage tri-wing screw on the fake one, and the real one has a game bit. And the reason why these screws are at the different spots on here is there's a hole that goes through the board on this one, and that kind of holds everything in place. But in this one, there's no hole that goes through the board, so they put the screw hole up above since the board is cut off partway through. So since you'll probably have your phone with you, which would have a light source on it, we have a nice bright light here to show this. So the light turned on, move the real one over. You can actually see there's the board on there. There's like a little opening up there. So the board goes all the way through everything on here. And the fake one, it's just nothingness. The board is down here, it's cut off right there, and then there's just open space on there. So using the light, you can pretty easily check to make sure the board is even the right size. And then you can at least see it on the front of the shell on here. There's an F with some numbers after it. That shows that is the front of the shell, and the other side will have a B on it for the back. But these fake ones do not have the letter and number markings, plus the fake ones have a huge opening in there. So then we'll go ahead and pop these beasts open and see what makes them tick. So you can see in here how the chip takes up the whole interior of this, while on the fake one, it's just a portion of it. Is that probably about 60% of it? So since we have them apart, we'll finish looking at these shells here. You can see a little easier on that one how the front one has that F with the numbers after it. And then on the back shell, it would be in this top corner. There you go, got it reflecting right. It has B with some numbers after it. But this fake one doesn't have any letters or numbers anywhere on it. And then you can see that huge opening that it has. And then the back one also has no B and no numbers or anything on it. But I think we've covered these shells enough. Now to get to the boards. Now the biggest thing you can see on the real board is it has the battery on there that's soldered in at the 2 points that are kind of diagonal. I mentioned the diagonal because I released a previous video about a Pokemon Crystal fake one where it actually has the battery stuff soldered on, but it's not diagonal on it. These boards were actually diagonal. I lied, one more thing about the case. So on the label you see it has DMG AAXE USA. So if you remember that AAXE, it's usually on the largest circuit on here. You can see it has a DMG AAXE on it. I just realized this battery is replaced. It was replaced with a 2032. At the top it says CR 2025. They work the same, so it doesn't really matter for this purpose. Then on the back of the board, look for those 4 rectangles and then also for a date and the word Nintendo. Then if you look at the fake one, it pretty much has none of that stuff. The label on the shell does say that DMG AAXE though. but nothing on the chips mention that anywhere. And then the back of the board just looks kind of boring in the fake one. So hopefully if you go and pick up one of these from someone, they'll actually either take it apart or let you take it apart. Try to bring the tool along to be able to take it apart, because you can never be fully sure that it's the correct thing unless it's taken apart. But we'll go ahead and get these put back together and test them out. Also, one thing that I like mentioning is if you are buying this game from someone and they do end up having a fake version, don't necessarily be upset at them because they may not have known that it was a fake. They may have purchased it like at a garage sale or from someone else who didn't know that it was a fake, or someone that was purposely misleading them. So if you run into anyone that has one of these, then make sure to cut them some slack, because it may not be their fault that they have a fake game. But on the other hand, if you are buying it because you know that it's a fake one and you just want to play the game, then don't pay more than like 10 bucks for it. Because on AliExpress, you can get these for like 4 bucks including shipping. So if you're paying anything more than 10 bucks, then you are ripping yourself off. So we have the real one in the Game Boy Color right now. Go ahead and take a look at what it's supposed to look like. Hey, there's Lapras. So yeah, it looks really nice on there in the Game Boy Color. And then let's see how the fake one looks. Hey, and there's Lapras too. So it looks exactly the same, sounds exactly the same. It is mostly going to play the exact same too. So then the other important test is we're going to use a Super Game Boy, and here's what the real one looks like. Pokemon Silver version has little Pokeballs and everything in it. Hey, and there's our buddy Lapras. And then the fake one's in there now. There we go. As far as the hardware is concerned, it is the exact same game. Now we've had other videos where we've done tests on them. These cheaper fake ones in Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2 do not work at all. But they do work in the Game Boy player for the GameCube. And they also work when you play them in a Game Boy Advance. So as far as the actual hardware is concerned, these are the legit games. But if you want to use anything like Pokemon Stadium or Pokemon Stadium 2 with them, it does not recognize them at all. I hope this was helpful for you. If you enjoyed this and want to see other videos on this topic, then please subscribe. Also, leave a like if you haven't. Leave any comments if you have any questions or anything. This does conclude the Game Boy and Game Boy Color Pokemon games that we're going to go over. Have a whole stack of all of the Game Boy Advance ones to go over next. I'm also waiting on a few other fake ones to arrive, and then I'm going to do just a general Game Boy one. Covering the Pokemon ones separately for Game Boy through Game Boy Advance, just because they're like different color cartridges. They're just different things about them than what the standard Game Boy cartridges and Game Boy Advance cartridges had. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day.